this is Eric at Learn Design with Eric, and today we're going to talk about print. We're going to talk about printing technology. We're going to talk about separations and just basically some basics of print technology. I could go way into this and take this into a 3-hour course probably. And if you guys are interested in learning really deep print technology, then I'd love you to reach out to me. Go ahead and hit me up on the discussion below and just let me know that that's an interest of yours. The thing is that you're gonna find that there's very little that you can find for training out there for that, because generally it's something that you learn on the job. The problem is you're not gonna get it's like the whole chicken before the egg thing. You're not gonna get a job where they want you to know a lot about print unless you know a lot about print, you know? And so if you're looking for a job at a print shop, at a t-shirt shop, probably not so much at a t-shirt shop, but a print shop or a sign shop or somewhere like that that does a lot of color separations, they're, line screens and those kinds of things, they're probably gonna try to find people that have that experience. So let's just talk briefly about technologies and kind of the differences between some kind of the basic overarching things in print technology. So there's two real types of print that is used widely these days. So there's digital print on one hand, and digital print is like things like a Xerox, right? We've all seen a Xerox, we all know what a digital printer can do, and that could be even something like an inkjet printer, right? You know, people use those at home, they have the little droplets of ink that drop down, and depending on the type of inkjet printer or the type of digital printer, whether it's a toner-based system or whether it has what's called thermal wax, which is basically almost like color crayons that are placed on the page and then melted into place. Xerox uses that technology quite a bit on their lower end printers. If it's a toner-based unit, then it's something like one of the higher end units, like an office would use. It's a bigger unit that's very expensive and typically has, the toner units kind of start around, unless it's a black and white, they usually start around $200 to $400, and then they go up into the tens of thousands of dollars and even the hundreds of thousands of dollars if you get into something like an iGen, which is a big production press unit that uses a toner-based system, okay? Then on the other hand, you have offset printing. And offset printing is the kinds of things they use for the yellow pages, things that they use for print catalogs, magazines, the newspaper, if you still see those. And so the really high-end stuff, like the really beautiful glossy magazines, like if you've ever picked up an Architectural Digest, that was printed using offset printing, okay? So offset printing generally has 4 colors: cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, and then can be used with a spot color, like a Pantone spot color. And I can show you some of those books too. If you want to see more about technology like this, make a thumbs up and put a link in, or put a comment into the description below, and I will continue going on with this kind of stuff. I could talk about print technology for a long time. And maybe I'll even make a whole course on it, because I do think there's a need out there. People just don't know that much about print technology, and I would be happy to, give you all, offload all my knowledge so that, future designers don't have to live in the dark. So anyway, so print technology that uses offset printing, just kind of think about offset printing as like business cards, stationery, high-end magazines, the newspaper, okay? So that's offset printing. And then on the other side is laser, toner-based systems, inkjets, and what we would call digital printing. And digital printing is kind of like what your on-demand printing. If you want to print a single sheet in full color, you're going to use digital. If you want to have the very highest quality and you're not worried about not so much not worried about cost, because there's always a concern about cost, but let's just say that quality is your number one requirement, then you're really talking about offset printing, because you're generally not going to get what I would consider very high quality with a digital print system, okay? Even the guys that have the iGens, they don't run the iGen for a single sheet of paper, generally, unless you're like friends with the printer, like I am, okay? So I can get a single sheet off the iGen, but you're not like me. So just to say, the thing about offset is that you're basically, in order to get the print up to color, okay, so when you first start an offset press, there's like towers with vats of ink. There's like 4 towers on the press with vats of ink in them. They literally spoon it out of a container and they slather it all over these rollers. And in order to get the rollers fully lubed up with the color, they have to run like 100 sheets of paper through. And on a typical offset press, most of the places that have offset presses that print 4-color, they're using a 2-up press at the bare minimum. And a 2-up press is 2 8.5/11 sheets side by side, okay? So that's the very bare minimum. Like, nobody that prints 4-color is doing a 1-up press. They're doing a 2-up press, which is gonna be a 12/18 or something, 13/19 or something like that sheet size. These types of machines, like offset presses, even used, are like $80,000 or $100,000. They're very, very, very expensive. In comparison, we had a production level digital copier. It was a Konica Minolta C6500. It was capable of 65 pages per minute, sustained, and that's double-sided, by the way, sustained for like all day long, every day. Huge stacks of paper, you know, and you're just running it all day long. Okay, so we're going to talk about colors and printing here, and separations and a few things like that. So what I've done here is I've pulled up the Pepsi Gillette Media Kit, which just has something to do with their Gillette Pepsi location-specific logo. And so it's showing the Pepsi logo in their traditional can-style art, or in their negative art, which could be used on like a website or something like that. And so this shows the lighter background blue, the darker logo blue, and the regular red. And so down below here, we've got all 3 of those colors shown, and they've got hex codes, which is like what you'd see on a website. So it'd be like pound 005 CB4, pound 004 B93, and pound C9002B. So those are your colors for web use, and then here's the RGB equivalents of them. So that'd be red, green, blue for light emitting devices like monitors and websites and the like. And then you've got CMYK mixes. So this is cyan, magenta, yellow, and K is black. Okay, so you've got, in this case, you've got a 100% cyan, 42% magenta, and 0% yellow and black. And then similar mixes with these, okay? And then PMS is Pantone Matching System. That's not actually a woman being angry. Pantone Matching System, this is PMS 300, 2945 blue, and 185 red. And so this just kind of shows the different mixes, right? So then we can also look at separations used. So let's just talk about what color separations are. So we're going to go into print production here. Going to do an output preview. So this US web coded swap, that is a profile used by printers. And the ones that I typically use would be US web coded Grackle, which is like this, but it's a slightly different one. Coded faux grapple. So this one would be the one I typically would use on the printing devices that I generally use. And see, this is already calling out these colors. So we've got PMS 300 right here. So you can see when I hover my cursor over it, shows 100% Pantone 300C. This will be 100% 2945C and 100% 185C. And so then we can actually do the separation. So you see I've deselected 185, and that's actually removing that color there. Deselected 2945, that's deselecting that color. We can scroll up and look at the separations on these actual logos here. So see, I'm removing those colors. So those are separations. And then there's the Cmyk mix. So like, let's move up here and see if this is Cmyk. It is. So this is kind of how it's mixing. So if we remove the yellow, you can see it, the warmness of the red is gone. It's now turned into a magenta. We remove the black. The dark blue gets ever so slightly lighter. It's very, very unnoticeable. It's only 3%. And obviously remove the cyan. It gets significantly like pink and just loses everything. Loses all of its richness. So that is kind of a basic guide to separations. All this to say, there's just a lot about printing, and I would love to go into it more. I don't want to keep you for a half an hour as I just keep rambling about printing, but we can talk about offset printing, and we can talk about digital printing. I'd love to engage with you guys. Just leave me a comment, and I will just knock out my knowledge for you, and maybe even do like a much deeper class on one or two or both of these things in printing technology, so that you guys can get the jobs you want, understand more about how to design for offset or digital printing, because there's different things you want to do for both. There's limitations of the technology, and there's things you can do with print, with offset printing, that you can't really do with digital, and vice versa. And so we can talk about those things and go in depth. And maybe I can even create like an assignment kind of, and maybe upload a file to Dropbox, and we can kind of go through some things together. Anyway, thanks for joining me today. This is Eric at Learn Design with Eric.